What helps me in the charting process is to create your median line. And so you can just use your red and blue pencil and create a line directly in between number 8 and number 9 and numbers 24 and 25. And so I'll go ahead and do that first. And it's not super straight, but it kind of gives you a point of reference. And I know that's really light, but whenever you're charting in this quadrant, if you're charting, say for instance, a mesial occlusal carious lesion on tooth number 1, of course you're going to use your red pencil because that's work that needs to be complete. And so when I chart, I already know that it's going to be an MO, carious lesion. So I'll chart my O first, which is my occlusal surface, and it's a carious lesion, and so I'll color it in solid red. And then the mesial surface is going to be the surface closest to my median line. So here's my median line right here in the center. And so then I'll make my mesial surface. And so I just put 2 lines out to the side, and then I color them in. So that creates a mesial occlusal carious lesion. You use red because that's work that needs to be done. When the doctor looks at the patient's chart, they will know that this patient has a cavity there, and this restoration, there needs to be a restoration put in place. Whether you use amalgam or composite, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the next one is a mesial occlusal distal existing amalgam restoration on tooth number 2. So since I know that it's an existing restoration, I'm going to use my blue pencil. So we're going to cover the occlusal surface, and you color that in. And it also said it was a mesial surface, so here's your midline. We want the surface closest to the midline. We color that in. And then your distal. So here's your midline again, so you want the surface farthest away from your midline. And so it will be the surface, the distance away. And then you color that in. So it kind of looks like a bow tie. Okay, so to just make sure you guys understand what direction your mesial goes in, I'm going to put a little arrow up here at the top. So your mesial will go this direction, and we'll put M for mesial, and then your distal will go the distance away. So we'll put an arrow going in the opposite direction, and a D for distal. Now, when you cross over from this first quadrant over to the very next quadrant, your mesial will still point toward your midline, which is right here. So that's an M for mesial, and your distal will go the distance away from the midline. And so when you come over here and look at some of your molars, we want to chart a, let's chart a distal occlusal carious lesion. So we already know we're going to use red because it's an occlusal, it's a carious lesion. So we said a distal occlusal. So occlusal is the easy one to put on. That's right in the center. Make a circle, color it in. And you're going to go the distance away. So there's a D up there, and we're going to go with the arrow going away. And so we're going to cover the area away, which is your distal surface. So there's your distal occlusal carious lesion. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is charting a composite restoration that is existing. So an existing composite restoration. So when I look at tooth number 19, I'm going to chart a mesial composite restoration. And so if I were to put it on the occlusal, it would go in the center. If I were to put it on the distal, I put it away from my median line. Remember, our median line is right here. But I want to put it on the mesial. It's an existing restoration, so I'm using my blue my blue pencil on number 19, and you just outline the surface. So I want to cover the mesial side of my tooth for a composite. And so that's charting a mesial composite. Now I can put a distal composite on this same tooth. Just like that. It's blue, that means it's already complete. Now, if I look at tooth number 18 and it says that the patient needs an occlusal composite, all I have to do is put a red circle, because that's red, that's work to be done, in the center of my tooth, and that tells me that this patient has needs a occlusal composite restoration. Okay, so the next thing we're going to chart is a faulty restoration. It's also referred to as recurrent decay. So there's an existing restoration already there, and it starts to decay underneath the restoration. So I'm going to chart on number 8. The patient already has a mesial composite there. So I'm going to outline it here. That is a composite. It's already existing, and it's on the mesial surface. There's the M, the arrows pointing toward the midline. Now, what makes it faulty is that it starts to decay underneath the filling material. And so you outline it in red. That's considered a faulty restoration or recurrent decay. And so you also put it not just on the facial surface, but you need to put it on the lingual surface. When there's a cavity in between the teeth, the doctors will use the burr to drill through the teeth, so it'll show up on the front of the tooth and also on the back of the tooth. And so you'll outline it on the inside, on the lingual side as well. It's still on the mesial surface. Switch my colors because there's decay coming in underneath that filling material. Okay, so the next thing I want to chart is a bridge, and we're going to have, let's see, we can go with number 24 is missing, and so it's already done, and so we're going to put a blue X on the root of 24, and there's a bridge replacing number 24, and it's going to connect 23, 24, and 25. And so we're going to put a porcelain crown there. And so all you do to replace it with the porcelain crown, so we're saying 23, 24, and 25 is part of our 3-unit bridge. And so you just outline the tooth in blue. And outline it on the lingual surface as well. So we're coloring number 23 for a porcelain crown, and all you have to do is outline the tooth. And we're going to color 24 because that's part of the bridge, the 3-unit bridge that we're using to replace this missing tooth number 24. And remember, your blue means that it's already existing. If this were red, then that means that that's something that we're going to work on. Okay, so right now I see that number 23, 24, and 25 has a porcelain bridge on there. But what helps you to connect it so that you'll know that it's actually a bridge is to put lines through it. So you'll start on number 23 on the facial surface. This is your facial surface. Start here and put a line all the way across to connect it so they'll know that it's a bridge. You just make 2 lines. And then back here on the lingual side, this is your lingual surface, you just want to put horizontal lines to connect each tooth. And so that is a 3-unit porcelain bridge. If I had it in red, that means that it's work to be done. It's not existing. Okay, so now we're going to cover how to chart a gold crown. So if number 30 needs a gold crown, all you have to do is outline the tooth just like we did over here. So you're going to use red because that's work to be done. Just outline your tooth. On all 3 surfaces. And then you place diagonal lines on each one. That lets me know, that lets me know that a gold crown should go there. If there's already an existing gold crown, you would chart it with blue. So you just go through and outline quickly. And this lets me know that there is an existing gold crown on tooth number 31. Existing needs to be done. Now we're going to cover how to chart bonded veneers. Again, if you're using your blue side of your pencil, that's work that's already done. So this patient on number 9 has a bonded veneer. All you're going to do is outline the facial surface of the tooth only. You don't have to put it on the lingual surface at all, just the facial surface. And when I look at that, that tells me that this person has a bonded veneer right now. If I were to use red, that means they need a bonded veneer. So I'll outline in red. Just like that. Okay, on number 9, we want to use a root canal on tooth number 9. The patient has an existing root canal. So all you have to do is just put a blue line down the center of that pulp. And when you look at number 10, the patient needs a bonded veneer, but they also need a root canal. And so use your red pencil and just put a straight line down the center of the pulp of the root. There. Now, when you look at tooth number 11, the patient needs an implant. And so all you have to do is just use the red side of your pencil because that's work that needs to be done. And you just want to put horizontal lines across the root of the tooth. And that's work that needs to be done, and that's for charting an implant. On tooth number 12, if they already have an existing implant, on tooth 12, you'll use the blue side of your pencil. Like that. Okay, on tooth number 11, we're going to show you how to chart a porcelain crown that needs to be done. So all you're going to do is just outline your tooth in red, the way we've done it here. Real simple and easy. And then on tooth number 12, there is an existing implant on 12, and we have an existing porcelain crown. And so to chart an existing porcelain crown, you just use your blue outline, your blue pencil to outline your tooth. Okay, so on number 16, we're going to chart that this tooth is impacted, and so whenever you're charting an impacted tooth, you want to use the red side of your pencil, and you just put a circle around it. Now, in most cases, when there's a tooth that is impacted, it also needs to be extracted as well. And so when you want to chart for to be extracted, you want to use 2 red diagonal lines. Okay, whenever you're charting for a missing tooth, you want to use the blue side of your pencil and just put an X on it. Just like that. When you notice back over here on number 24 was missing, or was missing, and so we used a small X down on the root. And the reason we did that is because so we can have room to chart the bridge up in this area. So if you're charting missing, always use a blue X over the 2. Okay, on number 15, if we want to chart that this patient has an existing stainless steel crown, you're going to chart it very similar to a porcelain crown, so you just outline quickly your tooth. And you put SS in the center on the occlusal surface so the doctors will know that there is an existing stainless steel crown. So S. And if the patient needs a stainless steel crown, you would use your red pencil. So blue is existing, red is work to be complete. Let's talk about sealants for a minute. A lot of the children that you'll see in your office, they'll either need a sealant or they have sealants already. And so if the patient needs a sealant, you'll still use the red side of your pencil and just put an S in the center on the occlusal surface. And if they already have a sealant, you'll use the blue side. So red is work that needs to be done. This patient needs a sealant. Blue is the patient already has a sealant on that occlusal surface. So the next thing we're going to cover is a post and core. And so for this patient, they will need a post and core. So all you have to do whenever you're charting that is just make a straight line and go into the first third of your tooth, and then make a little triangle and fill it in. And that's a post and core. Now, if the patient already had a post and core, you would just make it in blue and add a little triangle there. Okay, let's cover a periodontal pocket. Let's look at tooth number 3. This patient has a mesial periodontal pocket, and you're going to use red to mark it. And so you start right here at the gum line and go down toward the root. And so you want to make your periodontal pocket on the outside of your root. That's where the hygienists will use their probe to probe down to see how deep the pockets are. So that they go on the outside of the root, not on the inside. Don't color on the inside. And so on this side, your mesial is closest to your midline. But if I switched over to this other quadrant and say on number 14 there is a distal or a mesial, let's chart a mesial periodontal pocket, then it's going to be closest to your midline. So we'll start here at the gum line and go down just a little bit. There's another mesial. And if we charted a distal periodontal pocket, it will be on the opposite side. Okay, so the next thing we're going to chart on number 4 is an existing amalgam restoration with overhang. And so our surfaces are mesial occlusal. So I'll chart mesial first, and it's amalgam, so you're going to fill that in. And mesial, you want to go to the mesial surface, fill that in a little bit. And then you have your overhang, which is going to hang down in between the teeth just a little bit and make like a little triangle out to the side. And that is a existing amalgam restoration, mesial occlusal with proximal overhang.